One of Star Ace's deadliest dioramas. Here's your look at the upcoming Ray Harryhausen 1 million years BC Ceratosaurus Deluxe version. The classic fantasy film 1 million years BC featured dinosaurs and other creatures brought to life by stop-motion genius Ray Harryhausen. Star Ace's next release from this film is the menacing Ceratosaurus, known for battling a triceratops that had been chasing our heroes, the caveman and cave girl. As the cave people fearfully watch hidden in the nearby rock formation, the two huge dinosaurs fought to the death. This Ceratosaurus is a 12.5-inch tall polyresin statue, sculpted to match the original Harryhausen stop-motion model. It features a detailed hand-painted color scheme and comes with a rocky outcropping display base. The set includes scaled figures of the caveman and cave girl that can be positioned in a variety of ways. Before pursuing something prehistoric, I suppose the first thing we will want to do is figure out just how tall the Ceratosaurus stands from Star Ace. A big fan of Ray Harryhausen's work, specifically 1 million years BC, and I feel of all the things that Star Ace has released so far as a tribute to that groundbreaking stop-motion animator, the crowning jewel by far for me at least is the Ceratosaurus, and I was really excited to see this in hand. Of course, like I said, we're going to take this tape measure of mine and take it right to the very top of his spiked crest. Stop it right there. And then looking at the readout, you're looking at the Ceratosaurus standing at 11.9. At the beginning of this review, I said it was about 12.5. That does factor in when you get the display base incorporated, but if you're looking at just the Ceratosaurus on its own, it's closer to being about 12 inches. Like I said, 11.9. Switching that over to centimeters, then you're looking at the brand new Star Ace 1 million years BC Ceratosaurus standing 30.2 centimeters tall. To get going with some scale comparisons, we can just very carefully pick up the polyresin release of the Ceratosaurus, freeing up then some space so we can bring in the 1 million years BC vinyl Triceratops, which we actually looked at not too long ago. I feel like they scale pretty good with one another. The thing, though, about the Triceratops is that the original vinyl one, I believe, has now sold out, but Star Ace has right now a pre-order available for a polyresin release of the Triceratops. I'm not sure if the polyresin will be the same size as the vinyl one that we've already gotten, but the good thing about the polyresin release is that it's going to have a display base that's going to work a little bit more in tune. They're going to connect better with the one that we get with the Ceratosaurus, which we'll have a look at right now. Yes, quite the elaborate display base indeed that comes packaged with the Ceratosaurus. I can also tell you too, it makes up the majority of the weight of this statue, especially when you get the box home. Getting a closer look, though, you can see on the front of it, we've got hashtag Harryhausen100, along with some of his works he was known for. Down below that, you've got the Ceratosaurus in a slightly different font, but still painted nicely here in a metallic gold. I love the way that they add those as little monikers, little markers there on the fronts of their display bases. Then, of course, we can get a closer look at the actual base itself. There's a little cave, little platform areas that the smaller minifigures will actually sit on top of. Yeah, this actually does come with some smaller little statues of Tumak and Loana. You can see there's the terrain there, some remains, what's left, I'm guessing, of what the Ceratosaurus has already previously eaten, and there's also some foliage that they've sculpted all along there as well. It's a very elaborate looking display base, and I'm hoping even by showing you in this review, I'm doing enough proper justice. We can spin it around so you can see it from the back. It's finished, yes, from all sides. Just as nicely painted on the back as it is from the front. And of course, we can also flip the statue base up just very carefully. Underneath, you've got the 1 million years BC Ceratosaurus statue, and of course, presented to us from the Ray and Diana Harryhausen Foundation and Star Ace. Funny though, I was surprised to see that they didn't actually put felt feet on the bottom of this. But I guess if you consider the weight of the base and then the Ceratosaurus that stands on top of it, the likelihood of you going to be moving these around is probably slim to none. To come also included with this statue, you get little miniature versions of Tumak and Loana. They're posed, I'm guessing, the same way that the larger scale were. And why I say larger, I'm just going to put... Actually, you know what? We'll put down Loana for a second. Let's first look at Tumak. For the size of the figure, I mean, there's my thumb right there. It's about the size of my thumb. I think Starius has painted these quite nicely. There's the little tiny faces. Pupils and the beard, of course, painted nicely. He's holding this spear. These are all permanently affixed, as you can see, to the bottom bases that they're standing on top of. There's Tumak. The reason why I looked at him first and left Luana for last, again, looking at this one, seeing as we just recently had a look at the Luana that came packaged with the Triceratops, I wanted to show you the size difference between the two. Granted, I would say this size, I think, fits properly with the scale of the Ceratosaurus and the Triceratops, but this one was better for like just a showpiece to be displayed along with the Triceratops. And likely that's the reason why they went with such the large size of Luana for the Triceratops release, why they went with more the smaller size, because this size scales better with the actual size of these dinosaurs in the movie, or what would have been their actual size in the movie. Quickly looking at her face. The features are simple, certainly. I mean, there's no way around that. Obviously, they're a little bit more simplified on her face. But the very idea that we get little scaled-down version miniatures of both the cave people is actually a nice touch. The neat thing about it, though, is I'm just going to put these to the side for the second. I'm going to go back to the display base that we just finished picking up. There's a couple of little flat areas on the rock facings where they're kind of designated to be putting the cave people. But there's a couple of different places that you can put them in. I think the likelihood, I'm just going to take Tumak. Tumak you could put like on the side, for example. And I think I would maybe put like, I don't know, maybe Luana down here. Just around there. Or you can also put her up here as well. So, like I said, there's a couple of different places. You're not likely going to be picking up the statue base when moving it around while trying to put little tiny cave people on there. But at least it's to show you guys how it actually looks when you have them on display. Just get them standing straight here. Bring back Tumak. Put them right there. Okay. So there's the display base. Then, of course, we can bring in the Ceratosaurus. Ceratosaurus, when it comes to putting it on the display base, there really isn't a rhyme or reason. You kind of just have to move it around until you get the proper place. I find, actually, if you take the bottom of the tail here, and you sort of line it up to the foliage that's off to the side, the foot also kind of comes really close to the cave, but that seems to be, I find, the best place to put the Ceratosaurus. Because, I mean, keeping in mind as well, you're dealing with a pretty large reptile like this, and smaller scale people. Of course, you don't want to get them knocked over in the process, but once you get everything in place, once you get everything on display, you've got yourself quite the nice looking statue on a shelf. Of course, I know you guys will want to see the Ceratosaurus up close, so we can go ahead and do that right now. You could make the valid argument that the Ceratosaurus presented here by Starius doesn't have as much the detailing and realism that maybe some of the Jurassic Park dinosaurs would have, but that, to be fair, isn't a fair argument, because they're not going for realism. What they're going for is a tribute to the original Ray Harryhausen stop-motion puppets that were made in those classic films. I think based then on that, I think they've done a great job of replicating the look of the Ceratosaurus. I mean, just the detailing on the face alone, and how they've stepped it up on the paint, especially on the horn, for example, we've got ourselves a really nice looking Ceratosaurus. Features that I really like on this, just above and beyond the sculpting of just the skin alone. I mean, just look at the horn and how you've got that gradual coloring of the darker brown, and it transitions then into the cream color. Not to mention as well, and I can't tell whether it's been devouring some poor creature, but the inside of the Ceratosaurus's mouth has a blood crimson red color scheme, and both the tongue and the inside of the mouth are nice and wet. There's even like little droplets of slime on the inside of the tongue, or on the top of the tongue on the inside of the Ceratosaurus's mouth. The color scheme of this dino is notably lighter than what Starius did with the Triceratops, going with more of a light to medium gray. One thing that works to its favor is by having a lighter color like this, they've been able then to make all these little protrusion spikes a darker color so they stand out. A real nice coarse texturing on its body. Of course, it does have the row of spikes that start to the very top of its head and run all the way down its spine till it gets to the very end of its tail. Like I said, I really do like the coloring on this one. Now, it is a two-tone effect, similar to the Triceratops we looked at earlier. So we flip it upside down just enough so you can see that the coloring on the bottom of its belly is more of a cream color. And that goes all the way up to, I don't know if that would be the gullet of the Ceratosaurus, but it's colored all the way down. What they've also done too, it seems, is they've brushed across it. Not enough that it colors all those little caverns and all those little creases, the same color scheme. By just lightly brushing it, you can see still the details of the skin and the hide standing out. That looks really nice as well. And then, of course, we can also look at things like its big, giant feet, keeping still to more of that darker gray. You can see the individual claws on the end of it in a nice, shiny black. That also carries over as well when we're looking at the claws. Smaller hands, of course, like the T-Rex on the front. Little tiny hands, but still super sharp claws to be ripping into anything it wants to feast on. It's a stellar looking sculpted piece. Like I said, this was the one that I was really the most anxious to be picking up. Again, for one last look, we can certainly as well bring in the Triceratops. You can see the difference between the two. Again, I think like the Triceratops is currently sold out, but rest assured, if you guys were looking to pick up the 1 million years BC, or really started to get into the collecting of these and missed your chance to get the Triceratops, I just want to also let you know that Starry's is right now pre-ordering a poly resin release of the Triceratops. You don't necessarily have to get the ones of the same medium. I mean, really, when you're looking at just the two of these alone, I think you could pit the two together on a shelf. The Triceratops notably had the smaller display stand. In fact, actually, here's the display stand that came included with the Triceratops. So yeah, it doesn't have to look like he's got a bad, injured leg. So you can display it like that, and you have the much larger display base then for the Ceratosaurus. But if, again, you guys are looking to pick these ones up and you're just now getting into collecting these, maybe you would probably in your best interest maybe to hold off getting or trying to track down the vinyl Triceratops, and instead check online and see the pre-orders available right now for the poly resin release of that guy, because at least then you're probably going to be getting the same scale of dino, but you're also going to be getting display stands that are going to be connected a little bit more. From what I've seen, the display base that's going to come included with the poly resin release of Triceratops is going to connect a little bit more so with the one that comes included with the Ceratosaurus. As it stands right now, this display base isn't really going to connect to the one that we get with the Ceratosaurus. So I think the one that we are going to be getting with the poly resin release is going to connect and work a little bit more like they're part of the same scene. As you can see, the Starry's 1 million years BC Ray Harryhausen's Ceratosaurus statue is big. So big, in fact, that when it came to the beginning of this review, normally I would have the box along with it, but the box was bigger than the Ceratosaurus for obvious reasons to store everything inside, and I just couldn't fit the two in frame. And I certainly didn't want to take anything away from the Ceratosaurus either, so unfortunately the box had to vacate itself at the very beginning of this review. By far, if you ask me, of all the things that Starry's have released so far to celebrate the groundbreaking work of Ray Harryhausen, this I feel is sort of the pinnacle. It's the top of the tier, so to speak. The other ones were fine, and I really did like the recently looked at Triceratops. One thing that was also different between the Triceratops vinyl release and the poly resin release of Ceratosaurus is the scale of the cave people that came included with it. Clearly the ones that they've released previously, I think the idea is that they wanted to make the focus just as much about the cave people, Tumak and Luana, as it was about the dinosaur that they came included with, or vice versa. Clearly, though, scaling, I think, is more suitable for a release of the Ceratosaurus, so clearly, even though you don't see them here in this review, Tumak and Luana had to be scaled down in size just to kind of give you the sheer size of how big this thing would have been in that movie. Of course, if it was real. A great looking piece. It's got some very intricate, detailed sculpts and some very stellar looking paint that you would expect by now from Starry's. If you're a big fan of Ray Harryhausen's work, and specifically 1 million years BC, you may want to pick this one up and add it to your collection. Now, right now, I believe the Ceratosaurus is on pre-order on various sites. As I stated already, the Triceratops, I believe, has already since sold out. So if you're now just getting into this market of collecting Ray Harryhausen's work, as I said, this Ceratosaurus is on pre-order, but if you missed your chance on that Triceratops, just know that there is going to be a pre-order available of a poly resin release of a Triceratops, which hopefully we'll be able to look at here on the channel in the not-so-distant future. A big thank you again to the folks over at Starry's that provided this sample of the Ray Harryhausen 1 million years BC Ceratosaurus, which, again, if you ask me, is so far the best piece that they've done right now to celebrate Ray Harryhausen's work. What do you guys think of the statue? Let me know down below in the comments section. And if you are new to this channel, enjoying all the content you're seeing, and like myself, also enjoy the classic work of Ray Harryhausen, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you turn on the bell notification, and make sure you keep your dino peepers peeled to this channel, because there will in fact be more statue reviews and more Starry's reviews lined up and coming your way. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.